course, a little bit of nicotine gum. And I'm going to tell you why your sleep schedule is killing your output. For context, you're probably changing your work schedule based on calls that might pop up, based on fires that literally happened today in your business, based on external factors that, you label them as, oh, this is a priority right now, so I have to like wake up earlier, or you stay up later, or even you're the type of guy that works a fixed sort of routine for Monday to Friday, and then Friday to Sunday, you just sleep later and wake up later. And this is actually one of the biggest reasons you are tired, your energy is inconsistent, and you have brain fog, and you just know that you're not executing or performing at the level you could. And the reason I'm filming this video is because I want to tell you in simple words why this is happening, how it's affecting your work, so you can actually understand how important it is. A lot of my clients actually ask me this question and bring this up. What's the best sleep schedule? Like, how should I structure my sleep schedule so that I can actually be as productive at the most important times of the day as possible? And the answer to this is, I'm going to get to the answer in a minute, but just I want to give you some context. First of all, I want to give you some context as to what does sleep schedule have to do with my output. And to answer this question is, you have to understand that your sleep quality is so important and literally determines everything that has to do with your mental performance the next day. So think about your processing speed, your focus, your energy, your mood, your mental clarity. So literally, the reason that you're perhaps changing your sleep schedule for, which is your work, is going to be less productive because you're changing your sleep schedule, which is like a negative loop cycle. Majority of your testosterone production as a male happens during sleep, and more specifically REM sleep. To get enough REM sleep, you need to be super dialed with your sleep schedule. It's one of the most important aspects. And testosterone is also a key hormone that affects your decision making, your mental clarity, your energy, your mood, your stress management. Super, super important. Knowing how important sleep quality and recovery as a mental athlete is, it would be extremely inappropriate and irresponsible to compromise your sleep schedule for your work. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying skip work and let tasks kind of float in your to-do list because you have to go to bed. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that if you're working at a level that right now you feel like is not at the level you could be performing at right now, like for example, 5, 6 out of 10, if you were to rate your level of performance, execution, energy, and focus, imagine being at like a 9 out of 10. So now you're probably working like 10, 12, 14 hours a day. Imagine getting more work done than you do in those 12 hours a day, but in like 8 hours, 6 hours. That ultimately unlocks more time to recover, rest, spend time with family, and not just be a computer addict all day, sit in your chair behind the computer. But it has to start somewhere. You just have to compromise. One day you have to compromise, okay, I'm going to stop working earlier today so that I can actually start working on my sleep schedule so that tomorrow I can perform better and get more work done in less time. So it has to start somewhere. So what is the best schedule, the best sleep schedule for your performance, for your output? And the answer is, it all depends on your work responsibilities. So for example, if you're in the US and you're working with European clients, you have to actually accommodate your work schedule appropriately. And therefore, you figure out what is the sleep schedule that makes the most sense. This is probably very abstract right now, but what I mean by this is the best sleep schedule is the sleep schedule that you can stick to for at least 90% of the time. The best sleep schedule is something that I call 90% sleep schedule, which is what I just explained. And it means, okay, so can I wake up at like 7 or 8 and go to bed at like 10 or 11 for at least 90% of the time, or 80% of the time for that matter. It doesn't matter if you wake up at like 5 a.m. because you saw it in some podcast, you got to do your cold plunge and all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you wake up at like 11 a.m., like a degenerate maybe, or it doesn't matter if you wake up at 3 a.m. All it matters is that you're able to stick to those hours for at least 80 to 90% of the time. And the reason for that is because whether you feel energized in the morning and sleepy at night is controlled by your circadian clock. You probably have heard of the circadian clock, and the circadian clock is a big clock in your body that essentially is like an automation for the production of all of your hormones and brain chemicals and neurotransmitters and processes that happen in your body that actually determine your performance, that actually determine your ability to digest food, your ability to recover at night. And for most entrepreneurs, this clock is like messy. It's sending wrong signals and wrong times. You wake up, it takes like a while to get going. You depend on coffee. You go to bed at night and you're not able to fall asleep, and you probably need to take sleeping pills, or you're like stressed out and you like just ruminating, your brain is racing. This is because one of the key fundamentals of your performance, which is your sleep schedule, is messed up. And what you have to do is you have to examine, okay, what is the number one priority that I have to get on to start my day for? Like, for example, do you have any particular meetings that you cannot miss? Do you have any specific like team check-ins or any specific reasons why you should start at a specific time of the day? Like, for example, if you're a trader, or like if you do work with the stock market exchange, for example, you might want to work when the market opens. So that's a good example. So you find your anchor for starting work. Okay, we identified that it's 8 p.m. or we identified that it's 1 a.m. or we identified that it is something more realistic, 9 a.m. in the morning. Okay, and then from there you reverse engineer your wake up time. The same thing happens for the evening. Is there any specific responsibility that you have to attend at a specific time of the day? Like, what is the latest responsibility you have? Again, team huddle, like sales, calendar availability, and stuff like that. And then from there, you have pretty much established your work schedule. And then from there, you can actually see what sleep schedule makes sense that you can, number one, stick to for at least 80 to 90% of the time. And number two, actually allow for at least 8 hours in bed minimum. So if you do this, you're going to perform much better. You're going to make much better decisions. You're going to lead your team a lot better and with a lot more clarity and a lot more confidence. And that's going to reflect in your business and your output in the business. But why? But Manu, can't I like just do like the 9 to 5 style of work where Monday to Friday I just wake up and I do my routine, I'm locked in, but then Friday through Sunday I'm like relaxed and I just chill and watch series and like go to bed later? No, you can't do that. Well, you can, but hear me out. Remember what I said about the circadian clock? Where it's a machine, like it's a clock that runs multiple automations that produce, like that control your testosterone production, your energy levels, your focus, your digestion, everything, every pretty much thing that you can imagine, it controls that. That automation, like just let me give you, if you're a tech savvy person now with OpenClaw popping up, you might resonate with this. Think about having your main agent that controls all the other sub agents and tell them what to do. Well, this is your circadian clock, and all the sub-agents is like your energy production, your hormones, your focus, your digestion, your recovery, your muscle growth, and all those things. So when that main agent, your circadian clock, is confused because you're giving it the wrong signals, then it does a poor job. So that clock requires consistency of giving it the same context consistently. It takes about, hear this, if you're doing the things that I mentioned in the video, you're going to bed at random times, waking up at random times, so you're like the low baseline person. You just want to fix it. So you're watching this video and you want to take action. It will take around 3 days to 5 days for the circadian clock to start connecting the dots, pulling the dots together, and be like, okay, now I have the clear picture. I need to start producing this chemical at this time and this chemical at this time. In simple words, morning, this is my morning, and this is where I need to be energized and alert and focused. And evening, this is where I need to be sleepy, enable recovery mode. But here's the thing. It requires 3 to 5 days of consistent inputs to be able to achieve that. And the thing is, if you spend another 2 to 3 days of consistent inputs, of going to bed at random times and waking up at random times, guess what happens? You reset that clock, and it's like you're pretty much traveling in a different time zone. You're confusing your clock. You're creating that jet lag effect. Social jet lag is called by scientists. And you are just, this is the exact reason why on Monday and Tuesday you feel like you're catching up. And then by Friday, your circadian clock is synced, and then you'd actually desync your circadian clock. And this is the rabbit race. So if you just want to be mediocre with your performance and you want to rely on stimulants and brute force, be my guest. But if you want to take every single advantage, every single percentage you can get in your field to unlock a competitive edge, this is one of the main things. One of the main things. You cannot think about peptides and like fancy exotic substances if you haven't got this right, the 80 or 90% sleep schedule. But here's the thing. There's much more to this than just sorting out your sleep schedule. Okay? And there's things like dopamine management. There's things like actually performing lab work and blood panels and medical testing to identify your hormone levels and nutrient deficiencies so that you can actually further personalize all the elements in your routine, like your diet, your supplementation, your training, your recovery protocols. And as I mentioned in the video, or maybe I didn't mention that in the video, but long story short, I help founders and executives improve their focus and performance so they can actually unlock peak mental and physical performance through data-driven protocols. So if that sounds interesting, and if that's something that you need help with, what I'll go ahead and do is I'll leave a link in the description of this video where I can actually walk you through the process that I've used with over 300 founders and executives from companies like Square, Cash App, Canva, and a lot of other entrepreneurs you've probably seen in the space. Well, I'll show you how the exact protocol looks like that we've implemented with hundreds of those people, how it's actually helped them unlock a competitive edge in terms of their mental and physical performance, and how it can actually apply to you. And if it's interesting, there's a button there to book a call with me so that we can actually show you what are you doing wrong right now, what are the main bottlenecks in your performance right now, and what we could do to fix it. So go through that page if that's interesting. See how the process works, and then you can apply to work with me if you want. If that's the case, I'll leave you to it, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.